In much political discourse, we keep hearing about our democracy as opposed to our republic. But anyone who takes the time to read some of the Founding Fathers' writings will see clearly that they warned against pure democracy. But if people mean by our democracy just the notion that we, the people, have a say in our government, well, we certainly do, through our elected representatives. Here are some insights on these points from Dennis Prager of PragerU and the late Professor Dr. Walter Williams.
The founders of our country, they did not intend for us to be a democracy or for a majority rule, because the founders held democracy in utter contempt. They feared the idea of majority rule. And some of the evidence of this, when we pledge allegiance to the flag, do we pledge allegiance to the democracy for which it stands? No, it's the republic. Or during the war between the states in 1871, was it the battle hymn of the democracy? It was the battle hymn of the republic. The founders feared majority rule. And this is one of the reasons why they gave us the electoral college as a way of electing the president. Because if we did not have an electoral college, then big states, highly populated states like California and New York and Florida, they would decide who's the president. Very few presidents, presidential candidates would campaign in Wyoming or Idaho because the population is very small. They would put all their resources in the heavily populated states. And the founders were trying to, in their brilliance, they were trying to prevent that.
The Electoral College was a brilliant innovation of the founders because they didn't want a democracy, they wanted a republic. This is one nation to the republic for which it stands. It's in the Pledge of Allegiance. This is a republic. It is not a pure democracy because the founders, being wise, they understood people are not basically good. You can't be wise if you think human nature is good. So they understood they have to have as many checks and balances on human power as possible. That's why we have 3 branches of the government, to be checks on one another. They didn't trust human beings, correctly so. They understood that a simple direct election could easily end up some demagogue getting a majority of popular vote. So there's a check on the popular vote by the states, and that's why they have the Electoral College. So that the popular vote is important, but it is not the only decisive thing. It was genius. If we get rid of the Electoral College, it's the beginning of the end of America as it has been constituted.
When the Constitution was written in 1787, the next step was to get enough states to ratify it. That was a tough sell in some cases. So, using the pseudonym Publius, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay wrote letters to the editors of New York to try and get that populous state to accept the Constitution. Those letters were later gathered together into one volume, and we call them the Federalist Papers. Some of those Federalists make very clear that the founders intended us to be a republic, not a pure democracy. For Providence Forum, I'm Jerry Newcomb.